Greetings, everybody. This is a beautiful day here. It's the last day of June, the 30th of June 2025. I'm here to do another video as promised. The previous videos I've done were about Israel and the war in the Middle East with Iran. And I also had one point about the people that are in Israel presently are not the real chosen people. You can have a look at those videos if you haven't, just to see what I've said there. Quite controversial in the context of what people believe today. But I gave 3 scriptures there to alert you to the fact that you need to think very circumspectly about that issue, because my next point was about the power of the media and how media controlled people, and have in many ways the majority of us were being controlled by information, false information that was given out about certain things in the world. I would say even big lies. I also dealt before those videos about the medical crisis of 2020 to 2022, and in that previous video I spoke about the sudden deaths, and I showed the link between the medical solution and those sudden deaths and cardiac and cancer related issues. If you want to and you haven't seen it, I think the video is called Lest We Forget, YouTube video. So please view that if you haven't done so. What I promised then was that I wanted to do the source or the initiation of that crisis, but I think presently that I should rather go on to elaborate more on the enablers. The enablers made it possible for all of that to take place. And I want to start off by saying that the enablers included basically quite huge agencies and matters in society. I'll begin with, for instance, hospitals, clinics, workplaces, business, companies, and pastors and ministers of religion. You'll say, how can I say such a thing? The hospital protocols, for instance, required certain treatments to be given to patients, and that came from the managers of the hospitals, and it came from higher up even further, and I'll elaborate on that at a later stage when I talk about the initiators of that crisis. But today I'm talking about the enablers, and the hospital protocols at the clinics, etc., the workplaces and business and companies, they required certain things to be done in compliance to what was given from government, and this was a special unique situation in the world where the majority of the world, if not all the world, were dealing with the same crisis and with the same solution to the crisis. If you can just remember, in the workplaces, there were certain companies, for instance, that gave incentives for people to take the jab, let's say the jab, the medical solution. There were incentives in the first instance, free this, free that, a credit here or a credit there, and also then we also had the situation where people were threatened. The people had to do certain things in order to keep their jobs, in order to function. I don't want to name those companies here now, but I think you know what I'm talking about in your own anecdotal experience. Where you live, you'll know that certain companies and businesses, all kinds of businesses and companies were giving incentives and encouragement and urging, and then also on the other side of the coin, threats of what will happen if they don't comply. But my focus today is again on that last group I mentioned now in this list, the pastors and ministers of religion. Why do I want to focus on that? It's because they ought to have known that it's inappropriate, it shouldn't be done, but they urge people, they encourage people to take this this medical solution. And ostensibly, the idea is that to keep grandma and grandpa safe. You know, if you take it, it won't spread, and you won't be a danger to people who have comorbid. I cannot even pronounce that word by now, but you know, that had like high blood pressure and diabetes and all kind of weaknesses to their system. They would be more vulnerable to that disease. And you know, the shocking part is that, you know, even at funerals, if I remember correctly, that were even those that were even cast on social media for people to view at home in front of their devices, so they can be present at these funerals of loved ones and friends and colleagues, etc. Even those venues were used to encourage people to take that, to encourage congregations to take that medical solution, ostensibly again to keep grandma and grandpa safe so that the spread doesn't take place. And you know, attached to that is a lot of lies and mistruths. At this stage, I can say there was a time even when they prevented you to even open your mouth to even ask a question during that time. It was very sinister, really, really very evil and wicked, what was happening. And then I want to just ask the question, then where are those pastors and ministers of religion who took the choice to go on social media and to encourage people to take this medical solution? They even appeared, you know, like people who were in adverts, you know, and the first thing that popped up in my mind was there must be money involved in this, because adverts are not for free, and people would sit down or do things in an advert in order to persuade people to take an action or to, you know, purchase a product or goods. So these priests and these ministers of religion were on social media like Facebook, etc., advertising, you know, it's good, it's fine, it's safe for you, do this, etc. And I find that highly inappropriate. Where are these people now? They are absent, they're missing, and of the group that are still ministering in places of religion, they're still in their positions, they're still practicing in their jobs. So the question is then, when this thing, a crisis of this kind comes again, are you or we are going to comply and get scared from scaremongering devices like what they did then? You know, social media, everywhere it's announced about how many deaths, how many people are in hospital, how many funerals. It was constant bombardment daily, around the clock, all these devised to bring about fear, to shoo people into an action, to go and stand in a queue and to take this medical solution. And as I pointed out in the previous video, there has been sudden deaths, there's been cardiac situations, there's been cancers, etc. And I've just heard another set of data that there were more deaths after the COVID crisis than, you know, unnatural deaths, as they say, than it was during that time. And the funny thing was also, you know, this, it's been reported that people who went into hospitals for, they fell, they broke their leg or something like that, and then the death certificate would say died from COVID complications. So all of that was designed to shoo people into a certain viewpoint, and the media, the powerful media, were used very effectively to convince people of a narrative that is not true. So I just wanted to leave that with you, and also for those people who are in the process of ministers of religion, for instance, there's such a thing called discernment, which is something that's powerfully presented in Scripture. Discernment is supposed to be something that you would know beforehand if something is good for you or not, or good for people or not. So it's a fine Monday today. Enjoy your day further.